Good morning on this Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021, and it's an exciting morning for us. We're going to talk with Mr. Beecher Hicks III, the president and CEO of the new National Museum of African American Music, the first museum dedicated to the history of Black music. But first, we'll cover the news of the day. And before we do that, let us bring on our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis.
Good morning, Stacey, and on behalf of the Black Press of America, we greet everyone. We're so grateful for the leadership of our chair, Karen Carter Richards, the whole executive committee, and the board of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. We're grateful for you being our senior national correspondent, Stacey Brown. We'll get up earlier each morning to let it be known, to do the headlines of the news that affect the quality of life of people in the United States, but all over the world, particularly those of African descent.
Absolutely, Dr. Chavis, and it's certainly a privilege to be with you as always. Let's get started, Dr. Chavis. First, we have to talk about this. Obviously, in Texas, how horrible the weather has been, the situation there, not just the weather, the power outages, the big snowstorms. In Plano, Texas, though, you talk about heartless. We see it all the time. This has become the norm, and it has to stop being the norm. Young man named Reese, young Black man, I should say. Let's get it right. 18-year-old Rodney Reese spent a night in jail after he was arrested for being in the street while walking home from work in icy conditions during the winter weather storm there. We have a video of this incident just to show you that how wrong this was. The police chief immediately said that this was wrong. It should never have happened. And Chancellor, let's show the video.
Sir, you need to talk to us, okay? Sir.
I'm good, bro.
Can you calm down? All right. Sir.
Don't touch me.
Sir, look, we just want to talk to you.
Oh,
all right?
Good. I'm on the way home. I'm straight.
Okay.
Where the fuck I'm going?
Okay, but you're walking in the middle of the road.
All right. I understand that. My bad. I'm not in the middle of the road. How long?
We just trying to figure out where you're going.
Home. I just said that.
Oop.
Oh, you okay, dude?
Watch out, man.
Where's home at?
Do you want us to just give you a ride?
No, I'm good. I do this every night, literally. I'm straight.
Okay. You ain't cold or nothing?
No.
With that chief shirt on?
I just said that. I'm good.
What's your name, man?
Man.
Huh?
I don't know.
You don't know? Can you just stop and talk to us for a minute?
Bro.
Do you mind? Do you mind just talking to us for a minute? Just talk to us for a minute. Just talk to us for a minute.
I ain't gonna put my hand on a female. Please don't touch me.
Okay. I'm just trying to get your attention, okay? We're just trying to make sure you're okay.
Don't touch
We're trying
me.
to make sure you're okay. We're trying to make sure you're okay. Sir?
No, what?
We're trying.
No, what?
We're doing an investigation.
I don't care. I'm going home.
You were officially detained.
No.
Yes,
Sir.
yes you are.
Bro.
Stop.
Stop.
Just relax.
Just relax, all right?
Just relax.
We're just trying to talk
Bro,
to
I
you.
got an anger problem. Please get off me. Y'all not, no.
Stop.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch you.
Yeah, you didn't.
Stop.
Put your hands behind your back now. You are not free to go.
Wow.
The next thing we do is going to be get a charge right now.
For what?
Because you're pushing on an officer.
I'm not pushing. How am I pushing on you?
You're actually resisting, dude. It's resisting arrest or detention. Give us the channel.
Please just let me go.
No.
My house is literally right there.
Can you just tell us the address?
Wait.
Put a cuff on.
I'm trying to.
Please just let me go.
Wow, you're really making this.
Yes, he lived only 2 more houses down. He was stalked by these officers for 2 minutes and 17 seconds. It should be noted that Reese walks home every night from his job at Walmart. The storm forced him to walk in the street, and that was the charge. Walking in the roadway was the charge. Dr. Chavis, we see too much of this.
Walking while Black, driving while Black, breathing while Black. This is systemic racism in America. We must protest it in Texas. We must protest it in every state in the United States. And that's why we have the black press. We're not going to let this go by without our outrage being expressed. I hope he gets a great lawyer. Obviously, the police were wrong. This is the worst of law enforcement. Even during a time of a weather crisis, there is no empathy. There is no concern for the quality of life of African Americans. It's another very sad day in America.
Yeah, and under the circumstances too, which makes it even worse, these officers, they had nothing else to do. There are people in Texas, throughout Texas, in Plano, people suffering, dying, and yet they wanted to harass this 18-year-old young black man as he walked, as he did every day. We know when the snowstorm hits, when storms hit, most of the time we can't walk on the sidewalks.
Exactly. Well, again, there's a double, triple standard of the administration of justice. And thank God we have the video that would hopefully fully exonerate our young brother. But I think these police officers need to be disciplined. We do not need police officers who prey on African-American women, men, and children.
Absolutely. And moving along, Dr. Chavis, and we're going to continue to follow that story on blackpressusa.com and all of our member publications. We invite as well to join us in that coverage. A one-day summit begins tomorrow at 11 a.m. It's called Tech Conference 2021, brought to you by the National Newspaper Publishers Association and Zinger News. It's the world's first digitally native newswire. That's Zinger News, owned and operated by a journalist. But the NMPA, of course, is the trade representing the 230 African-American newspapers and media companies in the United States. The conference was planned to coincide with Black History Month and feature speakers from the world of technology, including business technology firms and government. At the tech conference, Dr. Chavis, as you know, ideas will be shared, best ideas and innovation for the 21st century with its associated challenges in growing families, businesses, and institutions. Also, at the conference, Yvette Clarke, the representative from the 9th District of New York, will deliver the keynote address. Dana White of Hyundai North America will speak in a session titled "Driving Past the Pandemic." Dana White has done some great work at Hyundai, and she will be there, as well as Jeff Joseph, the Software and Industry Information Association president. He's going to share trends from one of the leading technology associations in America during the session 2021. Email newsletters are all the rage, but can you make money? Lots going on there at the conference, including Tony Rome, whose efforts on the Kings of Comedy produced the highest grossing African-American comedy tour in HBO's history. And Rome will host the session Leveraging Technology in 2021, How to Connect with the Consumers and Drive Revenue. So a big day tomorrow, starting at 11 o'clock with Tech Conference 2021. And registration is free. You can go below here on the scroll. You can see where you can register. And right there, you can see where you can register. It's free. It's going to be so informative. You should be there. Dr. Chavis.
Absolutely. I am thankful to Hyundai for being the lead sponsor, and we're grateful to Zinger News to join with the National Newspaper Publishers Association to convene Tech Conference 2021. Yeah, technology is something that we all need to have a better grasp of. There's so many innovations, and we want to certainly keep all of our African-American publishers in business. So increase the profitability, increase the efficiency as well as the effectiveness. And so this is why we're having Tech Conference 2021. And we encourage everybody, don't wait till tomorrow, register today so that you can see all the information that will be provided starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And we're looking forward to having a great day tomorrow. And this is Black History Month, and we're making history every day.
Absolutely. And just to answer a question from one of our viewers, one of our most celebrated viewers, our executive administrator, Claudette Perry. That video we showed you of Mr. Reese was indeed a police body cam video. Good morning to Miss Perry. Good morning to Lynn Spivey, Stacy Palmer. Thanks for the Houston Forward Times for joining us as well. Our chair, Karen Carter Richards, Hodges Communications, Annette Phillips, Sherry Bray, Stacy Palmer. Hi, Stacy. Nicole McDaniel. Right now, though, Bobby Henry. Good morning, Bobby Henry. Right now, I'm excited. I'm excited to bring on Mr. H. Beecher Hicks III. He is the president and CEO of the new National Museum of African American Music. The first museum dedicated to the history of Black music is down in Nashville, Tennessee. Good morning, Mr. Hicks.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm glad to be with you both. Thank you for having me.
Very good. Very good. We're glad, and thank you for your leadership there in Nashville. One of our national board of directors is right there in Nashville, Rosetta Perry, the distinguished publisher of the Tennessee Tribune newspaper there in Nashville. And of course, Nashville is also the home of celebrated HBCUs, Fisk University and Meharry Medical College. So we're so glad to that you put a spotlight and an archive on the importance of Black music. Tell us about the museum.
Absolutely. And Ms. Perry has been a longtime supporter of the project. So we're very pleased to be to have her leadership even in getting the museum completed. So 22 years ago, a couple of gentlemen, Dr. T.B. Boyd, as well as Mr. Francis Guest, dreamt up an idea to create a museum. And then about 10 years ago or so, as the city of Nashville was refining its Music City brand to be much more inclusive of other genres of music beyond country music, which had always been Black forms of music had always been such a critical part of the Music City legacy, but really not regarded that way as the brand around the country. The museum decided to refine its focus, to focus on music. And we looked around the country and determined that really there were museums that acknowledged a brand, an artist, or a label, but not the entire story of American music and the important role that African Americans played in the evolution, development, and even the creation of American music. And so we said, right here in Nashville, in Music City, we could do something different. We could create a museum that tells about the history of America, as well as the important role that African Americans played in what music is. And so here we are, now 22 years from when the idea came along, and we've created a 56,000 square foot interactive museum right in the heart of downtown Nashville. So if you land at 5th and Broadway in Nashville, you are right in the heart of the city, and you will not miss the museum. It is right there in the heart of the entertainment district of the city. And so I hope that folks from all over the country will come see us and come have a good time with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Hicks, how did you get involved? We talked a little bit before we went live about a different road that you didn't think you was going to take this road, but how did you get involved?
Well, as I said, the Lord works in mysterious ways. And I invested in a business in Nashville about 10 years ago. And when I did that, I joined the board of this developing museum to just help move it along. I thought it was a great idea and wanted to be a part of it. But what I did not realize was that by getting involved and pushing over a period of years, I would become more and more involved and eventually become the CEO. So just something that made sense. My father is a pastor in the Washington, D.C. area. And so my life really has been all about serving our people and really helping to uplift our people. And so when I heard about this concept, when I heard about this idea, it just made so much sense. Something that can help our young people see themselves and celebrate themselves, to help all of us multi-generationally celebrate our culture, and to help people from all walks of life, Black and white, and from the North, from the South, regardless of the type of music that you like, see and understand and appreciate the significant role that African Americans have played in the formation of American culture, it just made so much sense that it was something that I really needed to push and be actively involved in making happen. I just didn't know I'd be quite this involved, but I'm excited to have been on the journey and delighted to be a part of bringing this to America.
Yeah, and there's several different wings there. I know one actually is dedicated to hip hop, and we know also we're going to give a shout out right now to the Universal Hip Hop Museum that's going to be built in the Bronx in 2023. It's going to open actually in 2023 in the Bronx, New York. But talk about the different areas there, the different wings, like the hip hop wing. It's called the Message, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. And so, one of the things that we wanted to make it a point to do, and like you said, shout out to Rocky Buchanan and his team up in the Bronx, kind of pulling the hip hop museum together. One of the things we wanted to do was put the history into the story. So we made it a point to name our galleries after songs that gave you a sense of time, place, and genre. And so One Nation Under a Groove really kind of gives you a sense of maybe the 1970s, a period of time when the civil rights movement is in full swing and all kinds of Black music is all over the place. And so that is what we deal with in that gallery: R&B, funk, soul, techno, disco. And then the Message, of course, takes you into the Bronx, takes you to urban renewal, takes you to the beginning of the war on drugs. And that is the period of time when hip hop emerged as a form of music. So what we want people to see is not just celebrate an artist, not just focus on a genre, but really, how did that music come about? How did it come up? How did it become the way that we communicate and celebrate through music in that period of time? And so that's what we try to bring about in each of the galleries throughout the museum.
Yeah, you could read more about the new museum, the Museum of African American Music History, National Museum of African American Music, at blackpressusa.com and many of our member newspapers. Dr. Chavez, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Yes, well, again, I want to thank Brother Hicks for his leadership. I know his whole family.
Okay.
Whenever there's a National Museum on the history of the Black church, Beecher Hicks, your father, would certainly be in that constellation of heroes who've made the Black church. The Black press came out of the Black church.
Sure.
The civil rights movement came out of the Black church and the Black press. And our music, from the days even before the transatlantic slave trade, art, culture, dance has always been a part of our existence, a part of our resiliency. And so we're so grateful for what you're doing in Nashville. And we invite people from all over the United States to go to Nashville once this COVID-19 is passed, to really see and engage with the National African American Music Museum. Tell us how can people reach out to the museum online, Brother Hicks? While if they can't get on the plane to travel to Nashville, how can they engage with the museum online?
Absolutely. So the best way to do that is go to blackmusicmuseum.com, and you can find everything that you want to find there. You can also follow us on social media, and we're easy to find there our handle is at the NMAAM. We call it NMAAM, NMAAM. But the simplest way is go to blackmusicmuseum.com. There's all kinds of programming and all kinds of things that let you know what we're up to there. And you can get tickets and memberships and all kinds of things. You can sign up for our mailing list. All that kind of stuff is right there on the website. And we look forward to everybody getting vaccinated as soon as possible, and then come on down to Nashville and have some fun with us.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Beecher, you opened on Martin Luther King Day this year. It was a grand opening. Tell us about that. It was obviously very significant that you did open on that day, but how did it go? What was the feeling there?
Well, it went extremely well. We did it in a COVID sensitive way. We had only about 45 or so people in the building because we wanted to really keep it down. So we did it virtually, and we had several thousand people join us online to see what happened. But it was really exciting and a moving experience. Again, after 20 plus years of working hard on this project, our board members and donors and and political figures who were so instrumental in driving the project forward were able to join together, cut the ribbon, and move forward. And one of the things that I mentioned in my remarks was that day was, Martin Luther King often said, we've got to learn to live together as brothers or we'll surely perish together as fools. And so my hope is that this museum will help folks learn to live together as brothers. Hopefully, now as we celebrate the music, we will also come to understand our common humanity. Music is an experience that we all share, regardless of our walk of life. And so we hope to be able to highlight that there and to see people from all over the country coming together to understand how we are able to live together as brothers.
Yeah, and Mr. Hicks, talk about too. Dr. Chapers mentioned this, how far Black music goes back long before the slave trade. Talk about how much of that is at the museum, how much of that is talked about or displayed at the museum, the very beginnings, the origins of Black music.
Yeah, absolutely. So we start pre the slave the transatlantic slave trade. When you enter into our Roots Theater, there are African instruments that line the walls to give you a sense of where all of this begins. And then as you enter into our galleries, our permanent exhibition is entitled Rivers of Rhythm. And so that is intended to connote the connectedness, the interconnectedness of various forms of music. And you go from slave songs to hip hop and everything in between. And we really make it a point to highlight that, hip hop is heavily influenced by the blues, and blues certainly influenced gospel, and gospel influenced rhythm and blues. And so, the genres really in some respects blend together, but it really starts at the beginning with our people. And then, we actually make the contention that American music started when Africans were brought to this country. The Europeans came to these shores and they brought their music and their culture with them. When they got here, they found the Native Americans who were here and they had their music and their culture. But when Africans were brought to these shores, they had their culture, or their music was at least attempted to be stripped from them, right down to the Stono River Slave Rebellion, after which the drums that maybe had been brought with them were taken away. And they were told that they could not use the drums because they were not just a form of music, but also a form of communicating. So at that moment, Africans had to begin to innovate, and they had to take on some of what they learned from their environment as well as what they brought with them from Africa to create something new. And that something new is what we now call American music. And so we really highlight all of that as we go through the museum. So regardless of what your thing is, you can come and you can learn, dig in, explore, maybe find something new. I hope that grandparents will show their grandchildren something that they got down to when they were younger, and that the grandkids maybe can do a rap battle with their grandmother and have a little fun together as well.
Yeah, how about that? And it's interesting too, because Elvis Presley down the road there in Memphis, right from you, Elvis Presley talked about how he was inspired by Black music. A lot of times we overlook that. I know there was a controversy back in the 80s with Public Enemy's song about Elvis and John Wayne, and most recently Chuck D did acknowledge that the only part of that was right was the John Wayne part. And in fact, Elvis had paid he always paid tribute to Black music and acknowledged that that's where he got it from. He says that he couldn't rip them off because he couldn't be as good as they were. He was speaking in particular about people like Jackie Wilson and B.B. King. So how much of that do we see in the museum now?
Yeah, you see it, relatively prominently. I mean, so this museum is about Black music, but it's not just about Black people. It is also about those who were influenced by this Black music, and that includes Elvis Presley. It includes the Beatles. It includes even rappers like Eminem. And so we find that there are artists of all cultures that have been heavily influenced by Black artists and by Black music. And so we are happy to celebrate that and to share that, but we center the African-American experience there. You know, we also deal some with the challenges that Black artists had, and how there was this distinction between rock and roll and R&B, which was a commercial distinction that was designated to divide, by race, the same music. And how I often tell the story about how Little Richard created the song Tutti Frutti, I believe it was in 1955. And in 1956, Pat Boone came out with a cover, and guess who made more money off the song? And so that kind of thing is an example of how, Black folks have often been treated poorly in the music industry. And so we highlight that, we deal with that in the story that we tell, but that's not where we stay. I mean, so even under those circumstances, Little Richard did fine by the end of his life. And although not all Black artists have been able to financially recover, but the point is that, we deal with the tough subjects, but at the end of the day, this music is all about overcoming, and we really ought to be able to come together to celebrate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Dr. Chavis, final thoughts from you.
Well, again, we want to thank Beecher Hicks and the National African American Music Museum in Nashville, Tennessee. We say in the Black press that truth is therapeutic. And certainly the truth about the history of our music, the history of our culture, the history of our long struggle for freedom, justice, and equality, it always reinforces us to continue to make good music, make good vibrations. We do have something to sing about. We, in the church, we say, make a joyful noise unto the Lord. And I want to thank you, Brother Hicks, for documenting and archiving how people of African descent for centuries have made a joyful noise unto the Lord.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this morning. Visit the blackmusicmuseum.com, and more importantly, when you can, get down to Nashville and visit this great new museum. Black History Month Remembrance. Generally, it's someone that is unsung. Well, today, in honor of the Black Music Museum, we're going to talk about Prince Rogers Nelson, born June 7th, 1958 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, singer, guitarist, songwriter, producer, dancer, and performer on keyboards, drums, bass, and who was among the most talented, I say the most talented American musician of his generation. Like Stevie Wonder, he was a rare composer who could perform at a superior level on virtually all the instruments he required, and a considerable number of his recordings feature him in all the performing roles. Prince's recording career began with funk and soul, marketed to a Black audience. His early music also reflected the contemporary musical impact of disco. Later records incorporated a vast array of influences, including jazz and hip-hop, usually within an overall approach most informed by funky, up-tempo styles and soulful ballads. The latter often featured his expressive falsetto singing. Prince's groundbreaking 1987 double album, Sign of the Times, has been considered one of the best ever. I personally believe it is the best album ever composed. Yes, I am a Prince fan, always have been. Tragically, on April 21, 2016, the world lost its most innovative music star ever. The Oscar winner, Grammy winner, American Award, Music Award winner, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. We remember the one and only Prince. Let it be known, in the words of Prince, if a man is considered guilty for what goes on in his mind, then give me the electric chair for all my future crimes. We will see you tomorrow.